it finally came in, the brand new RG34XX SP by Anbernic. You might be asking, what's the difference between the RG35XX SP? Well, this has a 3:4 aspect ratio, like the old school TVs that we grew up with in the 80s and 90s. And this has a 3:2 aspect ratio to be like the Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Advance SP. Now, of course, the body frame of the Game Boy Advance SP. That's why they're both called SP. So, if you're curious about this device, Anbernic kept the box pretty simple. Made in China with some certifications, nothing on this side, nothing on this side. Color selection, yellow, DMG gray, black, or purple. Let me know down in the comments section below, what color would you have gone with? You can see the little check mark. I went with yellow because I wanted something to contrast the 35XX SP. So I'm sure you're wondering what it looks like inside the box. Well, let's find out right after this. Hey fam, Swatituk Konkrat Pinik here, and it's finally time to unbox and give you my first impressions of the Anbernic RG34XX SP. So without further ado, let's open the box for the first time. Pretty well, there we go. Let's move that on over there. Beautiful. All right, first let's move the tray over as usual. So I ordered it with an extra memory card, so they ship it actually separate because I ordered it from their website. If you order it from their website, it's a empty SD card. If you order it from AliExpress, you get it with games on it. So your choice on what you prefer. I like to have my own ROMs, so I'll be adding that myself. What else did we get in the box? Of course, we got some screen wipes to clean up the screen. Before we get into that, let's take a look here. And also a very nice tempered glass screen protector. Again, a lot of people say this is superfluous with this device because it's a clamshell and it closes itself. I like the extra protection, and I'm not going to fault them for giving me something extra when a lot of companies are not giving even a screen protector. So I'll give them kudos to that. And of course, in this box, I'm sure you've already guessed it, is a USB-A. You can see the USB-A port there to USB-C for charging. So not all that dissimilar from other Anbernic devices, but good that they still give us a nice little separate box for our cable, give us actual tempered glass screen protector with the device, and of course, a nice manual that gives us all kinds of things to teach us about the device. So I appreciate Anbernic for providing this, because at the end of the day, this is your gateway to learning about your device as quickly as possible, so you can select your languages. So you can see we have Chinese, English, Japanese, Korean, Russian, French, German, Spanish, and Portuguese. As usual, if you're only able to speak Thai, unfortunately, it doesn't offer Thai support. And I say that because I live in Thailand. So fortunately, it's not there. It mentions there's 8 levels of brightness, all kinds of things. So I appreciate it, talking about Bluetooth settings, game streaming, game quality, different things you can do with the menu interface, what the lights mean, the device is thinking, for example, green, yellow means it's charging, and red means that you're low on power. Little diagram with button layout. Tells you how to format your memory card. So I appreciate that. And then it tells you what systems are supported. Now, PS1 and PS2 will be much easier than on this device, because if you remember, on this device, there's no sticks. But if you look at the picture, you can see that this has sticks. So immediately PlayStation and PSP games will be much easier. So that's always a good thing. So let's take it out of its tray for the first time. And if you're curious, the boxes always shows a yellow device regardless of what color you get. I just happen to get the yellow that matches the box. That is a very nice looking yellow if you ask me. So that is very nice. So let's take a quick tour here of it closed. 3.5mm headphone jack on the bottom, so your cable would be coming out. I think that's very nice because your hands would be over here, so you shouldn't be accidentally nudging your headphone jack. Does give you a little lanyard spot if you want to have a lanyard. Who knows, you might want it around your wrist. Some people like those lanyards. Around this side we have a volume up and down rocker, and we do have the first SD card. Now you can see this is different. We have This one had the 2 SD card slots and the 3.5mm on the bottom, whereas now only the headphone jack is there. They had no lanyard port. They still have the up and down, but now, like say, one of the memory cards. If we look on this side, again, quite similar for obvious reasons, but power and reset. But now, since they moved the 2 memory cards from the bottom, you have the other external one right there. So let's take a look here. So buttons feel very similar, and you still have the micro HDMI. So you have micro HDMI to full-size HDMI for out, and then OTG and USB charging. So OTG can be both like a controller, for example, as well as your charging port. I kind of like it set up like this, unlike the unit that I just reviewed, the Powkitty V90S, that just had 2 USB-Cs, so you had to have a USB-C to HDMI out, and you had to pay attention to which one you plugged into. I like that these are separate. And then you can see that they've changed the bottoms from like a smooth texture to the ribbed texture, but I do appreciate Anbernic doing that. Just kind of gives it a more retro vibe, if you ask me, so I appreciate that. And then you flip it open, and as I mentioned, so you have a 3.5-inch 4:3 screen versus a 3.4-inch screen that is 3:2 aspect ratio. So for every 3 inches this way, 2 inches this way, for example. Clicky D-pad, still clicky. I think maybe a little bit less clicky, but still feels nice. I think it feels a little bit better than this one, honestly. Buttons are just as clicky, but I like the red. Red's my favorite color, so I'll take the red buttons there. And you can see the menu button there is the same. Yeah, it may be hard to see because of the transparent color, but the speaker setup is the same and the start and select is the same. Maybe a little bit quieter, but not too bad overall. So all in all, it feels pretty nice to start with. It's a little bit thinner. I don't know if I can get this on camera. Let's see here. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it's a little bit thinner. Same chips on the inside, the H700, so it can still do the same things that that device can, but just with a different aspect ratio. What I kind of like to do for a device like this is have it specifically for Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Advance SP titles. I know there's no specific Game Boy Advance SP title, but because that console was 3:2, it just, you know, kind of gives it a more special immersive feel, I guess you could say. So I kind of like to have the Game Boy Advance games here. I've probably put other ROMs on it as well, of course, but got some audio here. Let's see. All right, they still call it game rooms instead of game ROMs. Interesting. App Center, let's just take a look here. So you can put your music on here if you want to. You can put some videos on here. There's ebook, file manager, Wheelie, because you have the good Wi-Fi on there, PDF. So if you want to put PDFs on here to read, so you have 2 ways to read documents on here. Apps, expert settings. Let's see, did they put us a video? Probably just for this device, but let's take a look. They love their little country music for starting. Talking about the hinge and the quality of their hinge. So you can see the colors kind of a little bit better here. The gray DMG kind of has a Super Nintendo color aesthetic versus the black gives you Skittles buttons, is it I like to call them, which all different colors. Has a little mention, it has a little magnet there. What color do you prefer? And then there's the little specs there. So this is the first Anbernic XX line that has 2 GB of internal RAM. That should help with the wheelie for streaming games. Now you have some sticks here. You know, not bad. Kind of PlayStation Vita sticks. Has a little rubbery texture on the top. Not too rubbery, but still nice enough. B to go back. If I can go back. Or menu, let's try go back. Close that. Let's try that. Anbernic, exiting. So the nice thing is because they have the same chipset in here that they had in, for example, the RG XXSP. There's going to be a lot of custom ROMs for this, so out of the gate you're going to have great customizability with the device. So I love that part of it. Part of me wishes they would have created another, used another chipset rather, but I can understand why they didn't. So you see they've already showing quite a few different systems here. So for example, let's see, Game Boy Advance, since it is modeled after that. How about 007, Everything or Nothing? English, please. Trying to make it where I'm up closer. I don't know if you noticed that. But yeah, trying to up my game some, and I would love it in the comment section for you to provide additional feedback on how you think I can improve my videos. As I mentioned previously, my first video was my very first time ever editing a video, let alone making a video. So I'm still new to this game, but I am more than happy to hear everyone's suggestions. Who remembers that James Bond movie? Sure, let's open the new game. Sahara Desert. Sometimes it's easy to forget how good the screens were actually on the Game Boy Advance for back in the day. Okay, so you can use your stick or you can use your 4-way D-pad. Let me know, are you more of a D-pad person or are you more of a stick person? Lots of explosions going on. Oops, I said crouch down. How do I stand up? There we go. Oop, okay. Trying to remember how to get off of here. It's been so long since I played this game. There we go. Simpler than I thought. So anyways, yeah, looks like it's playing very well. I love that it's full screen because again, it's the 3:2 aspect ratio of the Game Boy Advance. So, oops, I died. So let's see, is it start select or menu select? There we go. Menu, exit game. So at first blush, the screen looks really clear. Again, it's a nice integer scale of the Game Boy Advance SP. Now, if you're Game Boy Advance, if you're curious what integer scale just means pixel for pixel. So if you go 3x integer scale, for example, it would be creating or using 3 pixels on this screen for every 1 pixel native to the Game Boy Advance game, which gives you really crisp clarity. And that's one of the reasons I like something like this. Just for Game Boy Advance games, because it's going to give you that beautiful integer scaling for your games. Let's see here. It's supposed to turn off whenever you close it. There we go. Screen immediately off. That's another benefit of this with the POW Kitty V90S, a fantastic device, but I could look through the crack and see the screen was still on whenever I would first close the device, and it would have to time itself out basically. So I would either have to push the power button or change the timeout time. But yeah, I love having the sticks here. Feels good. Again, I'm still getting used to having the claw finger here, for example, because you know it's a smaller device, but it feels like a really nice device. I like that it has the 2 card slots on different sides. Just gives it kind of a nice synergy, and then gives you a nice synergy just by having the 1 headphone jack down there instead of everything down there. And the lanyard, not everybody uses lanyards, but if you do, it's nice to just have that option. Why not have the option, right? So that said, this is my first impressions of the RG34XXSP. I'd love to hear from you down in the comments down below. What do you think about this device? Is this the next level of handheld that you'd be thinking about, or are you waiting for something different? If you're thinking about something different, I'd love to hear from you about what type of device are you thinking about. So maybe I'll make sure I'll make a video of it when I get something like that. Because again, this channel is about you and giving you the information about things that you may not know exist, like you may not have heard of this new RG34XX by Anbernic. And yes, I may be biased to them because their name has part of my name in there, Nick. So I appreciate Anbernic having my name in there, but that's not the reason I'm reviewing this device. It is a brand new device just out, and I want to make sure to give you the most recent devices that may be of interest to you. So without that, until next time, this has been P. Nick.